and joy come to you, and to you your blossom too. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy here we come a singing, so let everybody sing. Love and joy come to you, and to you are also true. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy new
A lot of deadhead songs and bluegrass. They're kind of combined country, bluegrass, and rock. Plays keyboards.
holly and ivy, when they are fully grown. All the trees stand green, the holly bears the crown. Holly and ivy, when they are fully grown. All the trees stand green, the holly bears the crown. Holly has some blossom as white as lily flower, and sweet berry blossom, Jesus, be our Savior. Holly and ivy, when they fully grown, all the golden trees, holly bears the holly has some berry as red as any blossom, and Mary more sweet Jesus, do for sinners good. Holly and the ivy, they are fully grown, of the trees as one, holly bears the crown. Holly and the ivy, they are fully grown, all
Together, we
the holly bears the crown.
yeah, put those
Quite a few things that were not invented in 1865, such as the dreadnought Martin guitar. Any of you are instrument people will realize this is not a Martin, it's a Gallagher. Even better. Deck the halls with bells of holly. Okay, take it.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Roll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. Let's sing Nuvo Nuvoletta. Chantons Noël pour le roi nouveau-lait. Noël nouveau-lait, Noël chantons ici. Noël nouveau-lait, Noël chantons ici. Dévotés gens à Dieu, merci. Alors l'instant, bonne nouvelle. Noël nouveau-lait, Noël chantons ici. Bientôt, bientôt, par les trois quartiers, de l'Orient, ils sont partis. Avec la haine, vient le matin. Par un nouveau-lait, Noël chantons ici. Non portez l'oro, otro transdeni, l'autre encore à Jésus, mire offrir, les tables à l'or, paradis offrir, Noël nous volette encore d'aujourd'hui.
It is the Christmas season of 1865, and the war is over. Booker and his mother and his brother and his sister, along with other formerly enslaved family members, have taken their first breath of freedom earlier in the year when a Union officer read Field Order Number 11, declaring that they were free. Afterwards, Booker's mother, Jane, gathered her children and few belongings and journeyed to Malden, West Virginia, to reunite with her husband, Washington Ferguson, who had escaped slavery during Hunter's raid of 1864. Remaining on the plantation were Booker's aunt and uncle, as well as Mrs. Burris and some of her family. New working arrangements were in place between the former owner and the newly freed. But was life improving for the freedmen? How were the new laws of Reconstruction affecting everyday life in the Hales Ford community in the aftermath of the war between the states? Listen in on the conversation of Mrs. Burris family, members of the Halesford community, and later in the kitchen cabin, the newly freed members of Booker T. Washington's family and friends, as they share their perspectives of life during a new era of change among long-standing traditions.
Well, we finally had to tell it. This is a government post office. This is not a bank. We don't make loans here. If you want a stamp, you gotta do what everybody else does. You have to pay 2 cents.
Shouldn't be giving you a difficult time.
Sure.
The government decides what this.
My goodness, someone, you see, that's how hard things are right now for people. Even though the war is over, we're in a terrible mess. People literally cannot pay 2 cents for postage stamps. I know I am sick and tired of not having decent food, or a pretty dress, or new shoes. I wish things were the way they used to be. My goodness, but I don't suppose that's gonna happen with this Yankee governor we've got.
Now, Miss Reese, you know, Governor Pierpont, he's not bad for a Union man. Of course, that's probably because he was born in Virginia originally. But, you know, he has helped our Confederate veterans. I mean, he's helped many of them recover after the war. But the biggest thing he's doing now, do you realize they are educating 12,000 of the formerly enslaved children? And guess what? You taxpayers are paying every dime.
Well, the white folks of Franklin County are not supportive of that program. In fact, one of the county leaders has suggested that he was going to threaten harm against any white man or woman who came into the county and tried to establish a school for those slave people. I tell you, I just heard a rumor that there was just such a school being started in Gogginsville.
That's nearby. Now, you see, if little Booker, one of your servant boys, if he and his family had stayed here on the farm, he might be getting an education. He's the one, didn't he always say he wanted to go to school? That's right. But no, his mama takes him and the brother and sister and I don't know who all down to West Virginia, and the Booker, the little fellow, he's working in a salt mine. Now, how in the world? And he's not going to read down there. Not going to learn how.
Now, Booker's not the only one should have stayed on the farm. If my 2 boys had not gone off to the fighting, why, Christopher Frank and Billy, they'd probably be sitting in this room with us right now instead of stone cold in the ground. I read in the newspaper that Franklin County sent 153 boys to the fighting, and out of that, 41 of them either was killed outright or wounded bad. Now, 41 into, see.
That's 27%, Grandma, 1 in 5.
Oh,
No, it's 1 in 4 killed or wounded.
It's 1 in 5. What do you know about numbers? You're a girl.
I know my numbers.
Now, Silas, since you're so smart, tell me something. I've heard something called the Black Codes. Let's talk about it. What in the world? You know what that is? Tell me. Some kind of secret code or something?
So let me help you out there a little bit. I've got some insight. Some of my friends in the Virginia legislature said they're about ready to pass some of these laws. And it's ironic, Doctor, I don't know if you know this, but these laws are actually almost direct copies of what they were doing up in Illinois and Indiana already. Who knew we could get anything valuable out of the Union legislature up there? Now, here's my understanding is recent. What it does, it gives powers to the local sheriffs that if there are vagrants or people that aren't working, that they can arrest them and put them to hard labor without pay, of course. You know, what I hear is just a way to make sure they're a little bit less free than they think they're going to be, you know, kind of keep them under control. Why? My son-in-law, William Duncan, he can't get any work out of his former slaves. It's something terrible. I mean, there's a lot of former slaves just wandering around, and I tell you what, a lot of things that aren't nailed down are getting stolen.
Well, it's a difficult situation. We've never, in Franklin County, had to pay wages for farm labor. Nobody knows how much is a fair price. Our farmers in the county got together last week and they agreed to disagree.
Oh,
And I understand though in other parts of the state that the farmers are agreed on $5 per month plus board for healthy men and $3 per month plus board for women and boys. Seems to me that they just need to accept whatever we can pay or go hungry.
Well, I know that some of them are well behaved, but there are some others that are upping themselves, and they are causing problems, and things are gonna go bad. It's a good thing that those Yankee troops stayed behind to deal with all those Negro problems, so we don't have to. Talking about Negro problems, sister, didn't you keep, Sophia and Monroe, aren't they here with you?
Mary, do not talk to me about it. Yes, they are still here, and the law says I got to give them a place to live, all the firewood they want, and I gotta feed them. And if what the doctor just said is true, that means Monroe is gonna get $5 a month, and Sophia is gonna get $3. That's cash money I need for my taxes. Now, $5 and $3, that's $8 a month for 12 months. So in a year, that will be,
$96.
oh, thank you.
Smart.
Now, Betsy, you promised to talk about how Christmases used to be. Talk about the presents and the candy and the Christmas tree.
Why can't we have a Christmas tree? We can go cut one down now. I'll hold the lantern, you get the axe.
Now,
Children,
wait, just sit
Yeah.
down, you two.
think about your grandma, and think about your Aunt Fanny here. Silas, I don't think there needs to be any Christmas tree this year. Your Uncle Christopher Frank has been dead just barely a year, and I don't think we need to be having a Christmas tree and hooping and hollering and laughing and celebrating this year. So I think you just need to forget the Christmas idea.
Well, Mary, I did promise them that I would tell them what Christmas used to be like. Now, there's no harm in that. I will tell you about a Christmas I remember vivid. It was probably 10 years ago, I would say 50, 55, 56. It was before the war anyways. And I went to this house, it was decorated every inch. There was a tree so big, it touched the ceiling in the parlor. There was decorations on the staircase, on the mantelpiece, on the chandelier. I thought to myself, Queen Victoria herself would be proud to have these Christmas decorations in her palace. Well, that house, it's right on our road up here. And the lady who decorated it so fine and who's living in that house, she is right in this
Thank you,
room.
sister, for remembering that beautiful tree. Oh, my husband would sometimes
Mary.
come to Richmond and get sugar plum candies
Mary.
and decorate with little
Mary.
candles and...
I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about Mrs. Holland.
You're not talking about my...
Miss Holland, you had such a beautiful house. Finest I ever seen. Tell us about it.
Oh, it would be my pleasure, Betsy. We did have to keep up appearances, you being the postmaster and me being a member of the first family of Virginia. My family came to Virginia in the 1600s. Have I ever told you, children, that my second cousin, William Burrell, was the secretary to President Thomas Jefferson?
Now, how many times? 200 times or more we've heard that.
It took her 10 seconds this time. I think that's a record. And Christmas traditions. We had so many. But it all started with old Claiborne, our servant. He would go out into the woods and he would find the finest, largest pine tree. I think he probably had been looking all year long out there. He brought it back, put it in the parlor, and it was exactly perfect. What an eye. Oh. Well, when he got it set into the parlor, it was our turn to decorate the tree. We would put small candles on each bough. We had tin ornaments just so up and down. Oh, do you remember the glass balls that we had in the beads, and we would string those around the tree, and
She was spending hours.
when the candles were lit, the shimmer on those tin ornaments and those glass balls, the tree looked like a glowing star. And the boughs of holly and ivy, we had it wrapped around the banisters on all the stairs.
Front and back.
Oh, the stairs were beautiful, and the smell of the pine. Remember Maria? She's our cook. She would be baking day and night. She made pumpkin pie, mincemeat pie, apple pie, and of course her famous biscuits. It was wonderful. And then on Christmas Eve night, all of our family would get together and we would sit around that beautiful tree, and I'd be on the piano and we'd be singing Christmas carols, and Mr. Holland would be dressed like Father Christmas. I felt like a child myself, seeing those children just so excited. It was hard to get them to go to bed that night, but they knew they needed to go to bed or Father Christmas wouldn't be having come that night. The next morning, do you remember? We would be waiting, and the children would come down the stairs, and they would see their stockings full of toys. There'd be tin soldiers and spinning tops, and probably for the girls, we're seeing them. You see, each girl got a china-headed doll with a dress made of the most beautiful and finest fabrics we could find, made just for that girl and just for that doll. In fact, I have our daughter Sally's doll from years ago. She was fine in her day. She's a little torn and a little worn on her china face, but boy, she gave such fond hours of play.
I would love to have a doll like that.
Elizabeth, we would really like to have you have this doll. Your Christmas is just not right with all the sadness that's been in your home. And
Well, thank you.
But, but aren't you gonna give that doll to your granddaughter Lula?
oh, Betsy, it's quite all right. Lula's going to get a new doll this year.
Oh, so it's a hand-me-down doll that she gives us.
See? Oh, and we mustn't forget the boys. The boys weren't quite into the china dolls and those dresses, but they were sure into those Christmas poppers. Have you ever heard of a Christmas popper? I happen to have one. You see, you would pull on each end, and there's a touch of gunpowder, and you'd pull the ends, and bang! It was so much fun! It would spread paper and little tiny toys. We had such a mess everywhere. This looks just right for you.
We generally do not use the words gunpowder and Silas in the same sentence. I would expect not to see that thing going off in my parlor.
My apologies, Betsy. Silas, you get permission from your grandmother before you pull those in.
They sound much better inside.
Do you remember a tradition that turned you into a naughty boy?
How could I forget?
No. A kissing ball.
Oh, my. Now, only a hussy would carry a kissing ball around with her in her basket. What in the world?
You see, children, one could go out into the woods and they would pick the mistletoe out of the trees and make a ball. But this one is crystal. Our son Marcus bought it for us from that new department store, Lord and Taylor. In New York City.
Oh, New York City, the mistletoe in our woods isn't good enough for her, like we get when we go out. She's got to go to New York City.
Oh, Mary,
Look at this.
Oh, my.
Hey, son.
Children, hide your
So I
eyes.
can do there tomorrow.
We old man need a little kindling to get started.
Well, my favorite remembrance of Christmas past was each year, as soon as my son Marcus was big enough to carry that rifle, we taught him to hunt. Why? He and old Claiborne would team up and they would get the best, biggest turkey every year that would be in the center of our table. See, Claiborne made these turkey calls, and he was the best one in the county at it. In fact, it was that best-selling item at my store many years, many holidays. But when those two teamed up, we never had an empty table. It was fantastic.
Speaking of smells and thinking of that, Maria cooking that turkey just made the home so warm.
And there's another tradition you need to understand, because we don't do it anymore. But when we had the people enslaved on our property, it was only at the Christmas time, around those couple weeks, that they had time given off their chores. In fact, we had to send a lot of them away to Lynchburg to work in the tobacco factories, and up north to work in the salt mines. So when they came home at the holidays, that was the only time they had with their family and kin here locally. So what we did, we had the Yule log tradition. And what would happen, that's how we timed how long they had to spend with their family. So Claiborne took it upon himself to go out in the woods and find the biggest, the greenest, the knottiest log that would fit perfectly into our fireplace, and he would go stash it, and he would have it submerged in the creek for months. Then they drag that thing out, they put it in our fireplace, and somehow they got it going. I don't know how it started burning. But that thing would smolder for many times more than a fortnight.
Sometimes you'd wonder if it would ever stop burning.
Sometimes it wouldn't.
You know what I remember is all of the wonderful foods that we would have at Christmas time. Those Christmas plum puddings. Oh, the spices and the raisins. We could get fruit, oranges. Oh, I loved oranges. Christopher Frank loved oranges. They were his favorite thing in the world, except for me, of course. But oh, I would love to have an orange again. I would also like some hot chocolate.
Oh.
Or better yet, a cup of real coffee.
Oh.
Not chicory, but real coffee. With a spoonful of sugar.
Real sugar?
Real sugar, no molasses. Real sugar. You know, I thought when the blockades were gone and the war was over that we would be able to get flour and spices and fruits again. But we can't. I guess I thought wrong. I really would like some hot chocolate.
Hot buttered rum.
Chocolate.
Chocolate covered raisins,
Chocolate covered cherries.
chocolate almond.
what are you two doing still here? Don't you have chores before you go to bed tonight? Come on now, let's get going. Say good evening to our guests.
Chocolate cake.
Chocolate pudding.
Doctor, I'm afraid we've overstayed our welcome. We must be departing.
Oh, don't rush off.
Yes, well, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see you, Doctor. Come
Very
anytime.
nice to see you.
Thank you for your
Christmas.
wonderful stories.
Merry
Oh,
Christmas.
Mr. Hall, what a
Thank you.
fine neighbor.
Hospitality.
Thank you, thank you.
Ms. Reese?
Nice to see you again, Mr. Hall. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Ooh, it's cold. I sure hope it snows for Christmas. Ooh, I'm so cold.
I'll keep you warm, Molly.
Oh, hey.
Mr. Hall, yeah, look at the time.
Oh,
My word.
oh. Is it getting, is it getting late?
Oh, yes, Mary.
Oh.
Well, good
Oh.
night, sister.
I never have been good with him.
I have,
Merry Christmas, sister.
I've made the boys boys in the attic. I put extra quilts on the bed, so you sleep good,
Thank
both
you.
of you now.
And you sleep
Good
well too.
night.
I hope you don't snore like you have in the past. Well, then, if you're not snoring, who is?
I cannot believe Christmas is almost here. Well, it seems to me like it was just July and we was all complaining about how hot it was. Truth be told, it seems to me like yesterday my children was little and all excited about Christmas time, and now they got children of their own. Why, that Silas, he is growing up to be a fine young man, handsome, smart. And that little Elizabeth, what a firecracker she is. It's not going to be long before the boys start making calf eyes in her direction. Hardly seems long ago at all that my mama was alive. She loved Christmas. Oh, she's worse than the children. She always said that the older she got, the faster time seemed to go by. But she said she didn't mind because she figured after a life of hard work that she'd have some time to herself to read her Bible and to make quilts. I always thought it was going to be like that with me too. But it's turning out to be completely different. I never expected I would be hoeing my own garden and weaving my own cloth, spinning my wool, making lye soap, milking my cows. Oh, and in 100 years I would have never believed I would be running a tobacco farm, deciding when to plant, what fields to plant in, and when to harvest, who to hire to sell my tobacco for me, and what price to ask so I could pay my taxes. Oh, life, it does throw curves at you now and then. But we cannot change what happened yesterday, and we certainly cannot know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I believe in living every day the best you can. So on Christmas morning, I will go up the hill to the little cemetery, and I will spend some time with my dear husband, James. We would have been married 48 years next summer. He was a good man. Jamie was a fine husband and a fine father. He was strict, but he was fair. And then I will spend a little time with my sweet boy, Billy. Oh, he's going to be dead 3 years next March, killed up in Culpeper County during the fight. A more generous and kind man I have never known. But I will be happy when I walk down the hill to the house because, you see, I believe happiness is a choice. And I choose it. I am grateful for the food on my table and the family around me. And all day long, when I see my friends, my neighbors, my family, I will say to each and every one of them, have a very happy Christmas.
Now it is time to listen in on the others on the farm. Please follow us to the kitchen cabin through the door of the rear room.